terribly tough email we received. It's from Linda. It says, I raised my son Mormon. The eldest son died of cancer at the age of 20. He was sick when he was 15. He was very depressed and said he didn't want to live anymore. When I asked him why, he said, I'm a bad person. He went on to tell me that the bishop had been holding private meetings with him every month and asking if he touched himself. His seminary teacher was also telling my son that it was a sin to touch himself, but that after you're married, you can do anything sexually that you want. I called the general authority and complained, only to be told that they were teaching my son correct principles. I took my children out of the Mormon church, and I spent the next year trying to rebuild my son's self-esteem and his will to live by telling him how much God loves him. After a year, my son chose to go back to the Mormon church. Towards the end of his life, he came home from church very anxious. He said he had to get married before he died or he wouldn't go to the celestial kingdom. I told him that wasn't true. I told him that God would make everything up for whatever he missed out in this life. He died on New Year's Eve, 1991, believing in the Mormon church and having received his endowment in the temple the year before he died. My question, is my son in heaven? I wasn't a born-again Christian before he died, so I couldn't teach him the truth about Jesus. Does God make an exception for those who die without knowing the real Jesus? Linda, all I can tell you is this. God does not make any exception for people receiving his son. But you have to understand, knowing the real Jesus is a very tricky thing. There are two types of knowledge we can look at. There's ontological knowledge and there's epistemological knowledge. Those are two big words, but ontological knowledge is, I know Jesus was born in a manger. I know Jesus walked on water. I know Jesus died on a cross. I think he probably had long hair and a beard from all the pictures I've seen. I know that he wore a robe. I know that he was kind and fair. All those are ontological. Those are factual things about knowing Jesus, okay? Epistemological knowing Jesus is, do you know him? Do you realize who he is and who he was? And that is going to be the difference. It doesn't matter that your son died a Mormon. It doesn't really matter if he knew Jesus. And guess what? He had you as a mother. And you were trying to show him the Lord, it says through your thing. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt because God is a loving God full of grace and he is going to determine every situation. And I would never be in a position to say, no, he's not in heaven because he died a believing Mormon. I personally believe, and others will argue with me, but I personally believe that most Mormons have a great idea of who Jesus is. They know he died on a cross. They know he was the Son of God. They know he resurrected. They have a really good ontological knowledge of him. It's the epistemological knowledge of, has it gone from their head to their heart? And it's the church that keeps it from going from here to here, because when it goes to here, they walk from churches. And they say, no more of this junk. I know the real God. Don't beat yourself up. God is more loving, more full of grace, more everything. Your son, I am sure, is in heaven with him. If he's not, because you asked the question, it's going to be by God's will, and you would understand that someday, but I don't believe that for a second. It's the best answer I can give you.